Both Sony and Microsoft are making a lot of noise right before E3, and while it's true that Sony doesn't have a traditional E3 set up for the day of E3, they are going to be doing something in a few weeks on their own volition and of their own accord, which I think is very smart. Now, when it comes to what Microsoft is doing, I think Microsoft has been somewhat smart with some of the things that they've been able to announce. Obviously, they haven't really had a huge boon when it comes to the exclusive games the way that a lot of people thought. And again, I really do think that a lot of people are kind of basically just kind of crossing their fingers, holding their breath that Microsoft actually has some kind of surprise out there, because it's always been funny to me, as someone who has covered Microsoft for years and years, that their surprise tends to be a Forza game that we all knew about, but that wasn't officially announced. So I'm hoping we get something better than that. And I do think that a lot of people realistically maybe have a little bit too much faith in Microsoft right now. But at the same time, I do think that, Microsoft, if they have some games, I think that they could surprise some people. I hope that they actually show off some gameplay. We are very much closing in on a situation where Microsoft really needs to produce something. I mean, they haven't released a first-party game all year, and they haven't had a AAA in, closing in on, 700 days. So hopefully they get something good. But Sony, on the other hand, actually, I thought was very interesting, because Microsoft, for as much as they claim to be not about console wars and not in competition and all this kind of stuff, they've been throwing some shade at Sony about the way that they do their PC strategy. And I find that to be a little bit strange, to say the least. And the reason why I find that to be strange is because anybody with any kind of knowledge or any kind of intelligence knows that Microsoft did Play Anywhere last generation due to the fact that nobody was buying their Xbox and nobody was buying their Xbox games. So they tried to give, double copies away, hoping that would entice people to buy it on their platforms, the Windows Store or on Xbox. They also made some asinine kind of thing, like a statement that they release games simultaneously on PC and Xbox, but that wasn't exactly true either, because, there are multiple examples like Age of Empires and Flight Simulator and Gears Tactics where they release them first on a PC, and sometimes they don't release them at all on the console, or, months later, years later, or whatever, which I find weird, because, they actually make a console, they don't make a PC. So I found that to be very odd. With that being said, Jim Ryan was interviewed, and he actually came out and had some very interesting things to say about what's going on, and he also had some very interesting things to say about kind of the future and things like that. He kind of apologized for some things as well, which I thought was really cool. So I do want to get into this, and I wanted to kind of get into it very quickly. I know you guys are excited about E3, and I'm excited too. Make sure you guys check out, we're going to be live on Mooch's channel for E3 coverage. We're going to be giving away games, we're going to be giving away codes, we're going to be giving away a lot of stuff. Give it away, Xbox, PlayStation, all kinds of stuff. So games, that is. So anyway, what's up everybody? Crapgamer here with Crapgamer Reviews with another video. Thank you guys for checking it out. Slap that like button if you would. Slap it. I really do appreciate the slapping. PlayStation boss Jim Ryan recently had an interview where the executive talked about different things. In the interview, he commented on the removal of Cyberpunk 2077, and he also talked a lot about his own infamous quote on backwards compatibility, which maybe you guys kind of understand this. If you don't remember, back in June 2017, he said that the feature was one that received a lot of requests from the community, but wasn't actually used that much. He then added that the PlayStation 2 Gran Turismo games looked ancient compared to the PS4's GT Sport, and wondered why anybody would quote-unquote want to play that. The statement proved to be very controversial at the time, and Sony didn't really offer any kind of backwards compatibility with the PS4 console, unlike Microsoft with the Xbox One. When looking back, the PlayStation boss actually clarified what was going on. He goes, "It goes with the territory, but I get a little bit frustrated at still being hit over the head with this one." The point I was trying to make, obviously not very well, was just how great the PlayStation 4 version looked and how far the series has evolved. I certainly wasn't trying to be disrespectful to our heritage. I guess my big learning from this is that when they unveil the next Gran Turismo side by side with its history, that I'll keep my mouth shut. So that's one of the things. I mean, I think he was, I don't know what his true intent was at the time, but it's pretty clear. I mean, a lot of people like backwards compatibility. It makes a lot of sense to have backwards compatible stuff these days because games already look good. There's trophy support. There's, a lot of that stuff. And, you also, a lot of people don't play everything in a generation, so you always have a backlog and you can take that with you and play during downtime and when there's lack of exclusives. I mean, we're in a pandemic still, and there's obviously going to be a situation where there's going to be games that aren't going to be coming out as quickly as what we've had previously. So, we'll see how that's really, really, one of the things that kind of comes to fruition later on. One of the main points that I like to kind of point out is the fact that, anybody can be wrong or say something and, have that kind of situation where it isn't, looked at as being exactly 100% right or 100% accurate or whatever. But I do think that people like to kind of get on him a little bit much. He also went on to talk about moving past console wars, which I thought was very interesting. So he says, with entertainment converging on every screen imaginable, old distinctions between business of games, movies, and streaming, and even social media are becoming less relevant. We are at an entertainment company with a community of more than 100 million gamers with really extraordinary levels of commitment and engagement, according to Jim Ryan, when asked how he defines PlayStation as competition. He says, and I quote, "I would say unequivocally that we are competing for leisure hours and that any definition of competition has to extend way beyond the boundaries of what has traditionally been defined as gaming. When it comes to the big picture, Sony supplemented its splashy and largely successful November launch of PlayStation 5 with news this spring that it plans to expand its key franchises to movies and shows. It has been said, they have an HBO show, The Last of Us in the works, and movie in development on Ghost of Tsushima. And obviously the PlayStation 5 is off to a hot start in its first 7 months, but market leaders in previous video game consoles have struggled or outright failed in subsequent ones, something Sony is doing best to avoid. Sony is learning from one of the PS4's few shortcoming, a lack of hot games early. Yes, the output during the PS4 cycle was excellent, according to Jim Ryan, referring to a slew of critically acclaimed blockbuster games that were exclusive to Sony's previous console, but the great majority of those games came in the second half of the cycle, he said. Sony ramped up game production early for PS5 with multiple exclusive games at launch, followed by April's Returnal and June's Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. So the big challenge for them doesn't really seem to be making in the games personally, but getting consoles to customers. The company says it shipped around 8 million PS5s by the end of March, but demand is high and production is squeezed by chip shortages. He says, and I quote, "This really frustrates me and upsets me, especially when resellers and bots manage to get their hands on stock. But Sony is working incredibly hard with retail partners to get PS5s into the right hands," and pointed to Sony's own distribution service, PlayStation Direct, as a way to help that along. That U.S. program will expand to Europe before the end of March 2022. They're also, obviously making plans for the future and things like that. After Ratchet & Clank, the PS5's future is a little less clear, but PlayStation overall is set to greatly expand. Their next big promoted game, Horizon Forbidden West, is officially a maybe for 2021. I hope it does release this year because it looks like next year is going to be pretty busy with a lot of stuff as well. So, obviously you're going to get God of War, Ragnarok, you're going to get Forspoken, Final Fantasy 16, Gran Turismo 7. So they already have quite a few games in the hopper to kind of get out in time for all this kind of stuff to actually happen. So we'll see how it works out. But yeah, I do find it funny that they're basically they're actually taking the high road for a change, whereas Microsoft kind of took the low road a little bit. And I just find that to be a little bit interesting, to say the least. But yeah, I'm sure a lot of you guys will have something interesting to say about this, and I really do appreciate each and every one of you. I know things are a little bit different when it comes to the channel, and it's, you know, obviously not as big as it was, and we rebuilding and stuff like that. But I really do appreciate you guys if you could slap that like button, you know, and just, you know, subscribe if you haven't already. That would be amazing. You know, and I really do appreciate it. So thank you guys very much for watching. Have a great E3. I hope it's going to be great for everybody, including myself. I'm looking forward to it. Rack 'em up. Crap Gamer out.